You were meant to see this. If you saw this video today, then it was meant for you to find, because you likely feel the same way that I do. I assume, like me, you believe in a god or a higher power, but you wouldn't describe yourself as religious, because you don't necessarily fit into any of the pre-existing box religions that are currently out there. You agree with them to like an extent, and then they lose you. You don't feel parts of them are true or make sense. You stop seeing God's truth and start seeing human fallacies that have been made up and tacked on. And they may have done this for control or power reasons, or simply because that is what society believed at the time. But whenever you see those parts of the religions, you just don't agree with them. They just don't sit right with you, because you know they aren't true. And if you're anything like me, I've thought this way for quite a long time, and I've always had the same sort of feeling when it came to religion ever since being young. I remember even in primary school at age 11, I thought of myself as something called a humanist, which, for those that are unfamiliar, is basically an atheist that still believes in treating people well and being a good human being. They just don't believe that there's a God. They believe in the Big Bang Theory and all those things like that, which I thought at the time was like, I thought myself was like so smart. I believe in this science and I know better and all this, but you know, I know now that I'm wrong, that I came to that conclusion, but given the information that I had at the time, I feel like I was right to come to that conclusion. So, for a bit of backstory, I was raised Christian, but I just didn't believe that how they explained Christianity to me when I was a kid didn't really like make sense to me, because it was such a dumbed down version for kids to understand. They have to leave a lot of stuff out, and just the idea that God's like this old guy that sits on a cloud with a white beard and can do magic and all this stuff just doesn't make sense, and just didn't make sense to me at all. When I got a little bit older, though, I understand Christianity now to a degree and agree with certain parts of it. But at the time when I was a kid, it just didn't make sense to me. And, I just thought that science had all the answers when I was a kid. So I thought, oh, the Big Bang Theory, this makes sense. There was a great Big Bang, and then everything existed and stuff like that. That just made more sense to me at the time. But, as I got older, I learned more about science than I knew as like a little kid. And actually, the more you like listen to science and get more highly educated, the more it makes sense that there is a God. Because you look at all these complex structures that exist, and everything just works together so perfectly that it seems wrong to think that it all came about by accident. Like, even in like engineering class, I had this idea about blueprints. Like, we're learning about how if you're an engineer, you have to create a blueprint for the thing that you're making, and it has to be so exact and precise, showing all the measurements and like a full breakdown of how something is made or created, so that another engineer can understand it and come along and recreate the exact same thing that you just made. And it got me thinking about, all this talk about design and creation, that, we as human beings are the most intelligent, conscious thing on the planet. And we understand the world around us better than any organism on Earth. Our conscious intelligence is what allows us to understand the world and how it works. We break it down and we figure it out and we put it all together. But if it takes a being of our higher intelligence to break something down and understand it, then surely it would make sense that the thing that created all this must have had a much greater consciousness and intelligence to design it and create it from scratch than we have. And everything's just so, purposeful and exact and in balance and proportion to each other. Everything has a reason and an answer for being. And, everything has been thought through so carefully that it can't simply be by accident. It makes no sense to have been just a big bang and a random arrangement of particles, and it all just accidentally fell into place, and it just doesn't make sense. That's not how it is. There's an intent or there's a purpose behind all this, and it just doesn't make sense for it to be a random act. There was no designer behind it. Basically, there has to be a designer behind it. So there's my first sort of inkling that I got, that there was proof that there was a higher being or a god or source or whatever you want to call it that was above us. And as well, as I got older, I also learned more about other religions, as I'm sure you guys probably will have done as well. And as you learn about other religions as well, you start to sort of broaden your horizons of the definition of God and what God is and how you think of God. And so I learned about a belief called pantheism, which is a belief, we're all God in separate forms. That's becoming more popular now. I definitely see a rise in that and people believing things, thinking that way and seeing it in pop culture. And then there's also Buddhism, which I'm sure most of y'all are probably familiar with as well. Meditation, awareness of the present moment. Hinduism, thinking about reincarnation, coming back after death as another form. Scientology, which is a bit controversial and a bit weird, but they have an idea about reincarnation as well, that there's other organisms on other planets. And so just as you can be reincarnated on Earth, you can also be reincarnated in other planets, which I think also makes sense pretty much, because if you could be reincarnated here and you're a being that exists in the universe, surely you could be reincarnated somewhere else in the universe as well. So that makes sense. And then as well, the idea that as we're all separate vessels and extensions of God, God would send people to do and deliver his words. Like in Christianity, they sent Jesus. In Islam, they have beliefs about prophets as well. And that just makes sense as well to me. So, there's all these different beliefs and things in religions that I believe on, and I'm sure you probably believe in as well. But you just don't believe in the full religion itself. There's aspects to it that just don't make sense or seem outdated or just don't really like work in modern days with what we know. And, a lot of these beliefs that we do believe in and that are sort of true that are true to ourselves, they all link and work together. And the thing is that there's no one place for us to go when we have all these beliefs of separate things. We believe a bit from here and a bit from there, but we've got no one umbrella place of, where we can go to. And, there's no one camp that you can sort of put yourself into and say, I believe this. This is my religion. This is how I feel. This is the truths that I know to be true, and we just don't have that. And so basically, what God wanted me to do was to create this thing called the aggregate religion and give us a place to have all these ideas come together. And, so basically, he came to me and he told me, you need to create a new religion. You need to call it aggregate. And at the time, I didn't even really know what the word aggregate meant. And so I had to look it up. And the word aggregate literally means that it's multiple things coming together to form one whole, like converging rivers, to come together to form a new stream, which is perfect. But no surprises there. Like in Family Guy, there's that clip where it goes, "Shocker, God gets it right." That's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, yeah, it's exactly what God does. Everything he does it just makes sense, just clicks. It's right, and everything just seems to fall into place. And that's the reason I wanted to create Aggregate as well, is that all these different truths, they all just fit together and merge so perfectly, and they just make so much sense together that there has to be a new thing, a new name, a new umbrella term that puts all these things together. And hopefully that'll create some sort of, community for us all to come together with. Because like the thing is with all these different sorts of, beliefs and things is, if when we have all these different opinions and like viewpoints of different religions, and we believe this bit but not that bit, and we believe this bit and not that bit, it becomes difficult to discuss our beliefs because it leads to lengthy discussions. We have to discuss so many different religions and say yay or nay to this and that it just becomes so complicated and exhausting to explain that often we can avoid saying what we believe and what our beliefs are and what we have faith in, and that we do believe in a God, but we just don't want to say we do because it gets so difficult to explain all these different things that we think about. And so often we'll just avoid that, and then we lead to having no faith. We don't acknowledge God, and that's not a good thing, because belief in God brings us together. And if we had just like an umbrella term, we could all come together and it'd be much better. It'd be a better way to go about it, basically. And so God is saying that this is what he wants. This is what he wants me to do, right? He wants his people to come together through him again, but the true him. So the true version that we know of him. And he wants us to create, a new community and connectivity, because when we believe all these different things and we don't have our own term for it, we feel very separate and very misunderstood. And we don't feel like we can go to anyone with it. But God's telling me that there's a lot of people out there that are just like me, that feel disconnected, but have this same way of thinking. And if we're all out there with the same way of thinking, but we're not coming together, then what are we doing? We should come together, have this new thing, be like together in the same belief, and then see where this goes. Like, he wants a clean slate. He wants us to take the truth and knowledge and wisdom that is relevant and true and necessary, and move that forward, clearing his name of like anything that's untrue, and just get rid of anything that's attached to God that's not right, that's not as he sees it, and just come together and know God better. He wants us to know God better, know each other better, and then this way we can, walk the path that God has for us, and it'll be much easier. There'll be like less confusion, and we can just figure things out more, and we can be better guided by Him because we'll know Him better. And as well, if there's people out there that maybe you believe some of these things, but you're not too sure about other things, some of these concepts might be new to you, but you still feel like there's a little bit of truth in there, or you'd like to know more about it, then just like come here and we can ask, we can talk to each other. This can be a place where we all come together and explore these different concepts and things. Because as well, one thing that God said He wanted me to do was He wants religion to not be as fixed as it is. Whenever we think of religion, we think of it being so fixed in its ways. He wants Aggregate to flow like a river, like we said before, which is another perfect example, which is why he's so good at this. I just let him do all the thinking. You know, he has it so planned out, but he wants Aggregate to be a religion that just flows like a river, and constantly change. The more we understand, the more we can update it, and the more accurate we can get, and the more just better understanding, the more accurate understanding we can have of God. And he said as well to us to accept that, we are limited by our form, but the more understanding that we have, the more ideas that we put together, the closer we'll get to an accurate representation of what God is, and the closer we can get to what He wants us to do while we're here, basically, and figure out what all this stuff is, what we're supposed to do while we're here. So that's the main thing He wanted me to do today, was to get on here and explain a little bit about what Aggregate is, my own personal experiences with religion, and just to try and see if any of y'all resonate with this. I'm sure there's someone out there, I'm sure you're probably watching maybe out there, maybe you relate to what I'm saying right now. I hope you relate to what I'm saying right now. If this video found you, it's a pretty low chance that it found you, to be honest. Like, all the people that are on YouTube right now, like, very slim chance that it found you out there. I've got 0 subscribers. So I'm hoping that He sends it out to all the people that feel the same way that I do. And hopefully we can all get together and form this community on here and just discuss all these different things that we think are true, and get a proper, real good understanding of God, and come together and be less disconnected, more community. That's what we need. We need to come together. It's very disconnected, separate times, but if we can find something we can come together on, it's going to be a good thing for us all. So like on here right now, you may notice that the channel name is ADJ, which is my name as a rapper. It's not the Aggregate Religion channel, but I want my Aggregate Religion videos to be on here with my other content, so that other people because in my rap content, I talk about stuff that's similar to the religion, and I talk about concepts to go along with it, kind of thing. And so people that like my music may also find the videos, and it'd be another way of them coming in to find this. I'm just trying to find as many ways I can get this information out, so people can come in, and then we can all get together in this one spot. And then maybe like later on, when it's got a few more followers, it's a bit more like, what's the word I'm looking for now? It's a bit more grounded as a concept. It's a bit more firm in its being settled as a belief. It's more well known, more structured, that sort of thing. It's more established. That's the word I'm looking for. More established as a concept. Then I will make it its own thing as a separate page. People will know about it. They can go there. And while the videos are on this channel, I will make a playlist as well, where they can all be put to one place and they can all go there, as well as my other content. And I really want to thank you as well. If you stuck around this long and listened to me like awkwardly talk and stuff for the first time on my channel, please subscribe and stick around. And I thank you very much for sticking around, sticking with me through this, trying to explain what I have on my mind. You may have noticed that I've got the laptop down here with a little script on it. I've tried to stay on script as I can before. Like the last video I did before this one, I've recorded a video before this. The scripts and things, it just sounded too not natural. It didn't flow very well, and it didn't come off how I wanted it to. So I canceled that off, put another video out. This one feels like it's flowing much better, much more relaxed. So hopefully the more I do this, the better I'll get at speaking on camera, and then the more people that'll be listening to it as well. So hopefully that should be a good thing. And yeah, so thank you very much for sticking around, sticking with me. If you believe this, please, subscribe, share it with people that, if you have friends that if you have people that that think the same way as you, that's brilliant. Bring them here as well. You know, so let's all get together on here and share this new take on religion that God's after. And yeah, so hopefully 2025 is going to be the year for the aggregate religion. Got a couple of days now. It's like the 30th. So anytime this new year's coming through. So yeah, please stick around. I hope to see you guys real soon. Peace out.